The highest total of the week. We're talking Buffalo at Tampa Bay, 52.5 on the DK Sportsbook, Geoff, and Tom Brady is likely to throw the football more than 3 times this game.
Yeah.
Oh man, I told you I was going to do this. Second half of the year, we got to turn into Johnny Under, man. I'm going to take the under in this one. The Buffalo Bills, after a loss over the last 2 years, are 1-6 at hitting overs. This is a good defense. And look, guess what we have on the other side as well? We have a good defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the thing that worries me about this is now that we've seen a blueprint for how to beat Buffalo, does Tampa Bay just employ that strategy a little bit and just try and run Leonard Fournette here and really just keep Josh Allen off the field? I kind of think that there's something developing here with the Bills. I'm going to take under here at 52.5. And I think that if you do like the under, you should wait because I think this game will get up a little bit higher because people like to bet overs.
Man, this is so weird. This is so weird hearing you bet an under. Reid, what do you want to do here, over or under?
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to argue with Geoff on the under, but there's definitely value there. I think it's, I think I saw it at 52.5 in some, in some places at some points. So it's going to get up. And I think we have an idea of how these teams play at their apex. And Buffalo right now is not, right? They're not playing at that top. And if you look at the Bucs, right, I don't think they need to do much to beat the Buffalo Bills right now. This is still 2 teams that are top 5 in pace guys in the first half, right? Tampa Bay is first and Buffalo is 5th. So if this game gets off to a hot start, I would be extremely worried about that under. But I'm with Geoff here. And look, there's one last thing I'll say about blueprints on how to beat Kansas City or Buffalo. Emerson has a blueprint of hitting the ball 350 yards in the middle of the fairway.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean he can do it, right?
Oh.
Not every single team has the capability of doing it. And we see that with really bad teams. And maybe Buffalo's defense, they're really good. They're just playing bad teams. Not necessarily Tampa Bay. Not necessarily just because you have the blueprint doesn't mean you can actually implement it or stop them.
Okay. Well, Pearce, are you brave enough to take the over here?
Yeah, this must be bizarro world because I'm going to go with the over. Well, these guys, usually the over guys, and I'm the under. But I think we are giving a little too much to this Buffalo offense. They are down on them too much. They can still pass the ball, and we do know that, Tampa has a good defense, but they do struggle with the pass. I think Buffalo will be able to do that. I know Tampa's great against the run, but Buffalo doesn't really care about running. I don't think Buffalo's going to win this game, but they're going to move the ball better than, in 30-mile freezing wind. They're going to have a little bit more productive of an offense. So I think Buffalo will get there. And then on the other side, Tampa, they're probably going to run the ball more, but there's a limit to the amount of running that Tampa will do. It's just Bruce Arians. I've been arguing that he should run the ball all season and protect Tom Brady. They're just reluctant to do it. And he knows what he's doing. He's going to run the ball just enough to open up the passing game. And although Buffalo has a great pass or run DVOA on paper, we know that number is inflated by some positive game scripts for them where their opponents just couldn't run the ball because they were down by so many points. In close games, Buffalo can't stop the run. Tennessee, Indianapolis, last week against New England, against Jacksonville. If you're able to just keep running, which Tampa should be able to do, then you can move the ball. That'll open up the pass attack. I think both these teams are going to get plenty of points.
All right, a pivotal NFC East matchup going down in our nation's capital between the Cowboys and the football team. Over or under 48, Reid?
I'm going to go over. I think Dallas is first in pace when they're leading by more than a touchdown. I think this is what's it's going to be. 72% of the cash guys is on the over. 53% are on the tickets are on the over, right? So we see a lot of early money jumping on this. I think Washington football team, they're playing good football, but I'm not sure that they're going to actually be in this game. I see Dallas actually beating the out of the Washington football team. And look, they're playing good football, but I do think that if you take a look at their last 3 games, right, the Washington football team against the Vegas Raiders with no Darren Waller, Seattle and Carolina, that was led by Jeff's very own Cameron Newton. And I don't really think those are really tough tests of football. Now you get Dallas, who's playing extremely well, even though they have some injuries of their own. I think actually Dallas is going to put up 30-plus points. I do like the over.
All right, Pearce, you taking the over in this one?
No, I'm going to go with the under, and I have some concerns about Reid's analysis. Not that there's anything wrong at looking at these games when we do it every week. We say, oh, well, that team's not very good. How do we know that those 3 games were, soft matchups? With all the parity in the league.
You think Seattle's a good offense?
No.
They won last week, didn't they? Didn't they beat San Francisco, who we thought had just all of a sudden come back?
I mean, if you're worried about my analysis, everyone with 2 eyes does not think Seattle is a good football team. And I'm telling you right now, I've watched the Raiders all my life, and they are not a good football team this year. They can't play defense, and Cam Newton played after 1 week in training camp, or 1 week, in practicing. Carolina is not a good football team. Do you really think those three teams are good football teams?
Yeah, well, did San Francisco think that Seattle was a good football team? How did that work out for them?
No Deebo Samuel. George Kittle played well. Yeah, it's any given Sunday, right?
For every single game, for every single week. The point is, they won the game. They win these games. Washington, you look at the first 6 games, they allowed 31 points per game. The last 6 games, they've only allowed 19 points per game. That's a pretty good turnaround. And against the Dallas team that hasn't been very consistent either, I think Washington defense will be able to get the job done. I don't think Washington's going to score. They don't have the offensive weapons. Terry McLaurin's overrated. Gibson, these are good players. Gibson's a good player, but he's been overhyped by Geoff Ulrich a little too much.
Ooh.
They've got an average offensive line. They've got a bad quarterback. I think this is going to be maybe not necessarily a defensive game, but the defenses will play good enough and the offenses will be poor enough that this will stay underneath.
All right, Geoff, this game has everyone heated, so over or under?
I want to change my answer just so I don't have to agree with big bully Pearce now, just throwing out, I'm overhyped. Get out of here. You seen all the comments back there? That's not overhyped. All right, look, I like the under here too. For a lot of the reasons Pearce laid out, but like Washington, their defense has improved and their offense still can't score in the red zone. They're second last in red zone efficiency. Gary threw out way more fancy stats about this last week. But basically, Washington as an offense, they move the ball and they don't score touchdowns. It's not a great recipe for the over, especially with their secondary playing better. I actually really do like the under quite a bit here. Dallas, yes, they could get off offensively, but even when they've scored a lot of points, their defense has also kind of blown teams out, and there hasn't been a lot of points coming back. So I think this game is just a little bit too high right now for me to like the over. I like the under.
This is also Pearce, who said on Monday the Lions are a 500 football team here on
this is correct. Yes.
Love you, Pearce. Reid, Las Vegas is reeling in the AFC West race, but you knew that already. Now they're in Kansas City, the same Kansas City team that smoked them back in Week 10. Over or under 47.5 points here, Fowler?
I'm just going to say push so Pearce doesn't come at me for my nice job and my integrity as an analyst. But no, it's just hard to say, right? Waller being questionable, he went from week to week to being day to day. Who knows what this offense can do with the Raiders, right? They don't have their field stretcher. Deshaun Jackson is fine. But when you have Hunter Renfrow, no Kenyon Drake, I don't think Kenyon Drake wasn't doing anything. But when your offense is Josh Jacobs and Hunter Renfrow and potentially a guy like Foster Moreau, that doesn't give me a lot of hope for the Raiders offense whatsoever, right? They put up 15 points against, I guess, the best team in the NFL and the Washington football team. So I just don't see it with the Raiders. I really don't. Kansas City, I think, is going to blow them out. Again, this kind of harkens back to what I felt about Dallas and the Washington football team, but Washington football team is better than the Raiders right now. So I'm going to say under.
Okay, Geoff, what do you want to say here? Reid mentioned all the injuries. We don't know if Darren Waller's going to play. And while the defense for the Chiefs is giving up yards, they rank 8th now in NFL in points allowed.
Yeah, it's a good point. And again, these are two teams who have not been good in the red zone this year. Vegas is right down there with Washington, and now they might be still without their best red zone target and Darren Waller. It's not really a good recipe for a team that can't run the ball, right? And as much as I want to take the over here and just be like Kansas City probably comes in here, blows out, a poor or an eroding, Vegas defense, that's just not the way they've been playing. They get up and then they just play defensively. They rely on their special teams. I think you got to go under here. And I think at 48.5, the total really does look way too big. This seems just way mispriced for me. And I think it's got, again, that perception working in that the Chiefs are this high explosive offense. You got to always take the over. This is way too low. And people still betting it. And I just think that's a wrong mentality right now. I think this game could go down 46.5 before I'd even start to think about the over. So I have to really like the under again in the spot.
Okay, Pearce, what are the chances, though, the Chiefs are out for maybe some revenge after the Raiders upset them in Kansas City last year, and that was 40-32.
Yeah, I would hate to play the narrative and the gut feeling, and typically I'm on here hammering the under for the Chiefs and how poorly they played this season, but there's just something missing this week. I do not feel comfortable whatsoever taking the under in this game. It has nothing to do with the Raiders, which Reid's already pretty much piled on them enough so far in the segment, which has been great to hear him hammer his own team a couple of times. But they're bad. Josh Jacobs, 3.8 yards per carry. That's 40th in football. The offensive line is 5th in adjusted rushing yards for the running backs. They're just not getting it done. They're without Waller. But it really has nothing to do with Las Vegas. It's just Kansas City. The only time that they've gone over this season or in recent memory, was against Las Vegas. And you look at this season, it's hard to find some stats that make you want to take the over. But you look at the last 3 years worth of data and you say, yeah, you take Kansas City, you take the over. They're going to figure it out at some point. I hate that narrative, but I feel like this is a week where Kansas City finally gets it rolling, and I'll be the sucker that takes the over.
Nice.
All right, which quarterback stays cool in a game that both the 49ers and Bengals need to stay in the playoff race? What do we think? Over or under 49 points, Pearce? And keep in mind, these two teams combined to average 52.9 points per game. That's 3.9 more than the over-under in this contest.
Wow.
So
I'm going to take the over. I really like Joe Burrow in this spot. San Francisco's secondary is just okay. Jimmy Ward's been a great free safety in double coverage, and that might be a problem for Jamar Chase. But the main coverage is the issue. Emmanuel Mosley's going to be out. Josh Norman has a 49.6 PFF grade. Getting by the main coverage will be easy for Jamar Chase. That could open up the big plays. And if not, then you're going to have Boyd and Higgins able to hit those big plays. And the big issue here is if you look at Burrow's 5 losses this season, all have come when he's had main big-time pressure on him. Last week against the Chargers, 36%. Cleveland, 33%. 29% against Green Bay, 27%. In a game against the Jets, another 26. I mean, it's been high pressure against Chicago, 31%. Well, San Francisco, 25th when it comes to hurrying the quarterback, 27th in quarterback knockdowns, 27th in quarterback pressure, 29th in blitz rate. Burrow's going to have time to pass. He's going to have receivers open. They'll get their points. The thing you want to monitor is Samuel and Mitchell. If both of them are out, then I might change my mind.
all right, what do we think? Do we want to go over or under this, Geoff?
I really like the over in this one. This is a total that's up to 49 now, but I think this one will creep up into the 50s, and I think rightfully so. These are two good offenses, and Pearce laid out why San Francisco is a little bit overrated as a pass defense. I said this yesterday. They're holding teams to low passing yardage, but only because their running game has been beating up in certain spots. Well, we saw what happened last week when Russell Wilson got the ball. He passed out all over the yard against a San Francisco secondary that's really not good. What do you think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is going to do? And we don't care if Joe Burrow is turning the ball over. That's good because San Francisco's offense is super efficient too. These two teams rank in the top 3 in red zone efficiency. That's the kind of stuff you love to back for an over. And then you've also got a Bengals defense, which really hasn't been playing as well lately either. They're starting to give up more big plays. I love the over here. I think you keep hammering the over until it gets to somewhere in the 50s.
All right, Reid, 3 for 3 on the over here?
Well, whenever a panel, like Emerson likes to mention, is more than one person, agrees on everything, it's usually the wrong. So I'll just be the devil's advocate and say the under is 90% of the cash right now is on the under. And again, that might just be a trend. It might just be whatever you want to make it, right? Trends are just meant for colorful analysis. So when you look at that, though, 90% of the cash on the under, that is scary to take the over. And especially if it's creeping up to the 49 to the 50s, talk about both of these teams playing at an extremely slow pace. Even when the 49ers are up by more than 7 points, they're bottom 6, bottom 7. So that's the case for the under. I like what these guys are saying about the over, but there's some numbers to support the under. And on another note, Emerson with shorts in the wintertime is crazy.
He is wearing that bathing suit thing.
No, they're athletic shorts.
It's a bathing suit.
Look at them.
That's a bathing suit.
No, they're athletic shorts. You could probably use it as a bathing suit if you want. But anywho, whatever. Lamar Jackson is in a passing slump
It's snowing
here.
today in Boston, by the way.
It's not snowing in
Yes, it
Boston today.
is.
And I thrive in this weather. Sweatshirt up top, shorts on the bottom. I walk a couple blocks to work. I feel good.
It is snowing, though.
This is why I'm in such a good mood
snowing in
today.
Boston.
Because my legs feel free. Lamar Jackson is in a passing slump. Baker Mayfield has been in one all season. The total for this AFC North clash is currently a disgusting 42 points. Where are you going here, Geoff?
I don't know how you bet the over in this game. I'm actually shocked this total's at 42.5 after what we saw a couple weeks ago and just what we've seen from the Ravens offensively of late. I mean, Lamar Jackson can't stop turning the ball over. And sometimes you think, oh, well, that's great. That's going to lead to more points. Well, Cleveland, I mean, like they can't do anything. And now David Njoku, their leading receiver, has COVID. I'm shocked that this total is still at 42.5. I wanted to come in here and be like some contrarian guy and maybe get like a 38 total, but no, you go under at 42.5.
6 home games this season, Fowler. Cleveland has hit the over twice. 7 road games this season. Baltimore's hit the over just once.
Yeah, they're playing the Ravens back to back, right? These teams are playing each other. It's crazy. Like Cleveland goes on a bye and then they play the Ravens again. This is a low number for a football game, right? And Lamar Jackson, although he's playing extremely under expectation, he is an MVP type player. And you can't take historical on this one. He threw 4 picks against Cleveland, right? Back to back, basically. And so I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the over and trust in Lamar. I get that that's going to be a tough one to swallow, and it's probably going to bite me in the you-know-what. Mm-hmm. But again, when I got Lamar Jackson at close to 40 point total, I'm going to ride that over as much as possible.
I mean, Pearce combining for 26 2 weeks ago. You think they can actually get the 42 this time around?
I don't. I want to build off what Geoff said. He was looking for a 38. Well, look for some alternative odds and juice this thing up. Go as low as you possibly can. Both these teams have quarterbacks that are struggling. Both these teams have pretty good pass rushes, and we know that a strong pass rush is how you beat Lamar Jackson. You make him make mistakes, you make him force passes like he did in the first matchup. And then Baker Mayfield is, I guess, a shell. I mean, like Geoff mentioned, if Njoku is your best receiver, I think Landry will probably have a pretty good game, but that's because Baltimore's just going to give it to him. They'll give him those 10-yard, all right, you can have a little 5-yard catch here. He had, 6 catches for 100 yards in the first game. Didn't really help them out too much. And really, the only way this thing goes over is if Lamar just has this explosive breakout game, which I just don't see coming, or if Nick Chubb just runs all over this team, which that probably won't happen either. Baltimore has a good run defense. I'll take the under.